Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to sharpen a pencil in this method. Okay, it's a bit of a difficult craft to get used to, so be patient. You're going to need to do a lot of these before you get really comfortable with sharpening the pencil to a long taper. Okay, it's going to become very obvious as we start to draw why we do this. So just trust me on this. The pencil here, let's grab one that has a mid-length kind of shaft. Okay, the idea is to take the wood into the taper of the charcoal and make a beautiful taper to a very sharp point. No divots, no undulations, and so when you sharpen these, you have to be very present. You can't be daydreaming and thinking about things. I found that it's really good, you know, to do a couple of these up at home before you go into your classes, or if you're taking a workshop or somewhere, or a drawing workshop weekly. Try to do, say, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them up, because you're going to break them. What I normally do is I store them behind my ear. I just kind of put one here, I put one here, and then I have my pencil I'm drawing with. So I'm drawing, snap one. Just put it aside, grab a new one, and continue on. No train of thought has been broken. You don't disrupt the teacher by going to the back of the room and making a bunch of noise. You're not all frazzled and uptight, you know. So what you want to do is get at least 2 to 3, okay? Now, if you're breaking more than 2 or 3, then you're pushing way too hard. Got to be more subtle. Got to develop that subtle hand. So here's a pencil, Conte 1710B, which we normally use. You know, it's one of our staple pencils, and it has a clean break on it. Now, a clean break is what normally happens when you snap one of them. So it's going to be good. Normally, when they come from the manufacturer, they have a little point already established. Makes it a little easier to sharpen, but not a big deal. Okay, we've got a PDF file that you can download, right, and print out that shows you step by step this process. So, you know, take note, watch what I'm doing, and then go ahead and print that out and look over it and do up a bunch of pencils, and you'll be fine, okay? Here's the pencil. Here's my razor blade, single edge razor blade, not an X-Acto knife, not a buck knife, not a butcher blade. Just trust me, stick with these little guys. They're perfect. Now, when you sharpen this pencil, you're going to be holding it. Put your hand out, put your pencil in the hand. You're going to be twisting it, okay, as you file off the wood. The object is to get down to the charcoal. Now, between the wood and the charcoal, there's sometimes a little barrier of glue that they use. And that usually just peels right off with the wood. Sometimes it's a little crafty, and you got to chip back towards yourself to get it off. Just be very careful with these. These are sharp blades. You do not want to cut yourself, okay? So this is my disclaimer right now. Be careful. Don't cut yourself, okay? A little common sense goes a long way in this, okay? So I'm going to basically take my fingers and I'm going to pinch the razor blade. Now, as I am pushing, a lot of people I see, they try to push with that hand that's holding the razor blade. That's not what you want to be doing. You want to push with your thumb that's holding and cradling the pencil and rolling it, okay? So I'm pushing with my thumb, and my hand is simply gripping the blade and not doing much of anything, just keeping it steady. Now, when I take off this wood tape, I want to take it off slowly, especially when I start seeing it get down to that charcoal, because this is where you're going to get your divots. You're going to dig in too deep, and you're going to take a big swale out of it. Now, it's going to be problematic. We don't want the blade or the charcoal to do a swale. And I'll talk to you more about that when I start demonstrating how to draw, you know, with these pencils. I'll tell you why you don't want that, and it becomes very apparent as we start to actually practice this discipline. Okay, as I'm chipping this off, you know, you want a trash can around, and you want to try to keep it in the trash can so you don't end up having it all over the floor. Don't sharpen it on your drawing benches because people sit in the charcoal. It gets all over the place. Just little things to think about. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit more. What I've done here is I've exposed a fair amount, just a little bit of length of charcoal. Now I can start my taper, my point. It's got a clean break on it. Now you got to kind of chip at it while you're trying to get that thing, you know, to start a point. And as I chip at it, I'm going to rotate it and turn it, spin it. Now what I've done is, okay, I've taken the wood off with the middle of the blade, right? I'm here at the middle of the blade as I'm taking my wood off. When I go to sharpen, I flip the blade over. Now my right hand that's holding the blade is going to be the one doing the work. The left hand is simply going to be still continue to roll the pencil. Now, I've got a chip to get this clean break to some kind of point. Now, you could stick it in a pencil sharpener, but just again, think of this as a kind of wax on, wax off Karate Kid thing, you know, where you're kind of going through these processes wondering, why is this guy getting me to do these crazy things? And then all of a sudden, it's going to dawn on you, and we're going to do some things, and you're going to say, oh, I get it. That's amazing. And so try to zen out. Try to relax. Try to take a deep breath. Calm down, especially if you're frazzled. You just came in off the freeway. Again, you're just getting to class. You just had a fight with your significant other or argument or something, and you're kind of frazzled, and you just got, the IRS just contacted you for taxes or something. I don't know. Any number of things that could really frazzle you. Okay, as I chip at this thing, little shards of charcoal are splintering off all over the place, right? Don't want to get them in your eye. Okay, if you get one in your eye, it's not the end of the world. Don't panic. Take a break, go to the bathroom, grab a little piece of toilet paper or a little piece of paper, wet it down, look, and just kind of, it'll stick to it and just pull it right out. Because it kind of sticks to the white of your eye. You're going to freak out when this first happens. It used to happen to me all the time, and I would just, I would just, I don't like things in my eyes, obviously, as a painter or artist. But anyway, so what I've done to prevent that, either wear glasses, if you have, wear glasses, or squint down so your eyelashes cover your eyes. So when I'm sharpening my pencil, you'll always see me kind of squinting, especially at that initial stage when I'm chipping off that tip, because that's when those pieces of charcoal are really going to be kind of jumping off of that thing. So we get a little further down, it won't be as problematic. But I just, keep it. Don't get up like this and do it. Just kind of stay away from it. And you can see I'm twisting it the whole time, and I'm just twisting away at it. You can even rest your arm on the edge of the trash can. Pretty funny in art class because we'll have 20 people around one tiny little trash can trying to sharpen and tune up their pencils. It's kind of like a social thing. I mean, you sit there and you kind of small talk, and you just kind of talk about, how was your week and stuff like that. It's just kind of a social thing before you get class started. But this chipping noise can be very annoying if you're trying to do it when the teacher is teaching. So, again, do 2 or 3 of these up so that you don't waste your model time, you don't waste your teacher time, and that way you can just grab a new one or something. So just trust me on this one, and do them at home. You turn the radio on and just kind of zone out before you start training at home. Do up 2 or 4 of them and put them in your box, and you'll be so much more relaxed when you come to class. And it's really all about staying present and keeping. You're going to hear me say that a lot, but it's very much part of the process. Is you have to be present to do this stuff good. Okay, chipping. I'm going to move a little faster. You don't need to move this fast. I'm just trying to do it so you guys don't get bored as you're watching this. Still working that tip, still cradling it back and forth, trying to get that tip started. Now this blade is a little bit of an older blade. You really want to, again, buy a box of those blades. You're going to blow through them. And you want to get one that's really, got a tip on it. A lot of these are from my box, and they're not brand new. I should have grabbed some new ones. Apologize for that, but I'm going to run into that as well. When I demonstrate this kind of stuff, I try to make it as practical as possible and try to keep people realizing that, I'm just an artist just like you guys. I went through all the same training, same frustrations, same, learning curves, and had to learn all this stuff. And luckily had, some decent teachers showing me it and being patient with me, just like I'm going to be with you guys. So again, hear it, scratching it. Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a process to get that tip started when you have a clean break like that. Those clean breaks, they happen all the time, and you just got to deal with them. Cradling it back and forth. Almost there. Okay, at this point, you've got a pretty good tip started. You could then take your sanding pad if you wanted to and just finish it off. Now when I do the sanding pad, I'm sanding this way, and I'm spinning it at the same time. It's kind of like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. It's a little bit, takes a little bit getting used to, but you can see I hold the pad like this. You can see all the charcoal that's starting to come off on that as I'm filing down my tip. Now some people use their sanding pads more than others. It really depends. I prefer doing most of it with a blade, but this can be a very, very handy way to get that thing really started and down to a nice point. Now, the charcoal that's on there, you just kind of tap it off. It goes into the trash can, and you don't have to rip off layer after layer every time you use it, Get some use out of those things. Put it back in your box, put it aside, and then go back to the process. Now a lot of times I'll just grab a remnant of some old paint rag or something and that someone threw in the trash and kind of clean off that excess, the excess charcoal instead of scraping it. A lot of people will scrape it off like this, and sometimes that can score your pencil. Okay, now you notice that the wood taper goes into, now that's too short of a shaft. It's a little too short for my liking. I like to take them a little bit longer than that. It's really up to you. I've seen people use them at that length. I've seen people use them ridiculously long. The really, really long ones are a little problematic because you're cantilevered so much out over that charcoal that the chances of breaking it are pretty good. And so I think a mid-range length, and that's what I'm going to do right now, and then I'll show you, will probably be what you want to do. And again, I'm just peeling off like an onion, these layers of wood, and I'm staying pretty much parallel to the wood, meaning same angle as the wood, because you don't want to dig in. If you dig in, you get a really deep dig, and you got to back off and make sure you don't continue, because the wood will just chunk off a section of the charcoal, and then you've got, an issue. Now, sometimes as you're sharpening, there'll be a hairline fracture from manufacturing that occurs somewhere underneath the wood. That has nothing to do with you. We've kind of wondered over the years, why does that occur? I don't know if they score the pencil maybe periodically to break them, and then maybe that score gets misaligned or something. Again, I don't want to go too much into that, but anyway, what I've noticed is sometimes if you just kind of test it by shaking the tip and see if it wiggles at all. If it's wiggling, there might be a hairline fracture just under the wood, and it's kind of a shame because you're drawing with it, it'll just snap right off. If you get a pencil like that, it's not always necessarily your fault. Sometimes, like I said, it might be manufacturing, or it might be that you're pushing down too hard and creating that fracture yourself by pushing on the pencil way too much when you're in the process of taking that wood off. Try to be delicate with this process. It's not like you got to be, the thing I like about the Conte is they're thicker, and they really do take a lot more they take longer to wear down, they last longer as a pencil, they're a little more expensive than some of the other options I mentioned to you. But in the materials section of the lecture. Okay, so what I've got now is a pencil that's pretty much ready to go. I just might take my sanding pad one last time. Not pushing down very hard at all. Just spinning the pencil like this. You can't see because my hand's moving so fast, but I'm spinning it the whole time. I'm out here, I'm back here. I'm out here, I'm back here. So the whole time I'm spinning it. Now occasionally you'll get a sanding pad that either has a swale in it or a dome. The dome ones I like are really kind of problematic. So when you buy them, just kind of look at, sometimes it's hard to see through the little, because they're encased in plastic. Kind of see if you can see any kind of weird swale, convex or concave issue. Flat ones are obviously ideal, but I have gotten them, when you get a swale like that, you just got to kind of push the pencil into that swale and spin it as you go. So you won't be able to go out and back as much because you'll be hitting the high points of that swale. But don't worry about it. Again, just a little bit of thinking outside the box, being a little bit more common sense. Try to think about how would I get that thing to work. This one's fine, so I can go back and forth. These are just things that I've noticed over the years that can be problematic, And again, this technique is heavily rooted in this pencil sharpening technique. So do not underestimate the value of sharpening the pencil correctly. If you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to either hit a bevel when you don't want one. Say you want to put a broad stroke down, but you hit a bevel and it leaves a hard edge when you really wanted a soft edge. That's going to cause major problems. Not only you're going to start getting frustrated, but then you might start pushing harder, then you break your tip, and then what's starting to happen is this process of getting out of being present and starting to get in this hyper kind of stressed mode where no good drawing or painting is going to occur when you don't have your wits about you and you start getting stressed out. So again, take some time, sharpen up your pencils correctly. Trust me on this one. We're going to get into some serious training here, and we really want our pencils to be prepared so that we can stay as efficient and as streamlined as possible. Okay? Thanks a bunch. See you soon.